to...
You hear me? We're coming for you.
Coming.
You messed with the wrong family!
That was so butch.
Okay, but seriously, we have something we want to talk to you about.
Yeah, we actually do.
So it's really interesting because last week we published our video about our journey to becoming parents, which was sharing the story of Matt's mother carrying our daughter.
We kind of provided a behind the scenes journey of what that process looked like. And it was just really nice because we got to see so many responses of people that are really encouraging and they really love our story. And then just a couple hours ago, my mom sends me a message and she says that she was watching a show and she realized that Anderson Cooper was being interviewed and started to describe our family on there.
He referenced our story.
Yeah.
At the expense of our family.
Yeah. So a little backstory.
Hi, my name's Seal. Most of you may know me just as simply as Uma's grandma. You know our past history of how Uma was created and how she came forth in this world. I have to tell you that was a special moment in my life and a very proud moment in my life. And the other day I was watching a show where Anderson Cooper was on, and he was proceeding to talk about how his mother was willing to offer to help him start a family. So she suggested to him possibly that maybe if he could find an embryo, use his sperm, and she would carry the baby and she would be the surrogate. And he proceeded to say something that he just thought that was bat blank crazy. And that really took me back. Right off there, I thought, well, he's kind of frowning on this or thinking this is just kind of disgusting. Then he proceeded to go on and kind of make fun of our situation, saying how his mother had seen an article in the paper saying that a grandmother gave birth to her granddaughter. And he proceeded to go on and make fun of it, stating that the sons were standing there ready to catch the baby, which that has no truth to the story whatsoever.
You know, we would include the clip, but we're kind of scared to deal with any kind of copyright infringements, but we'll include a link of what the interview says.
Yeah, the point is that he explains that his mother had offered to carry his baby and he thought that was absurd. And then a couple of months or years later, she sends him an article of a family where the grandma carries for her gay son, and he explains the scene of the picture, which is the two gay boys, the son and the partner, standing there catching the baby out of the grandma. And though we cannot confirm that he is speaking about our family, it describes the story of how our family's origin. And though it might seem lighthearted and fun, and the fact that he is a queer person makes it feel like no harm done, but that is simply not the case. What this is doing is looking at the way that queer families are starting their families through the lens of like disgust, and in the way that we are imagining how our families can be created.
It felt problematic and it felt unsettling that this gay man who had to build his own family himself and knows how challenging it can be for gay or queer individuals to expand their family, who's using our story as a punchline.
I guess not to get too involved about this, it really was, like I said, I was taken back. Someone who is from the GBLT community, who has a platform, who can talk to other people of how families struggle on how to become a family.
And using their reach and platform to not uplift the stories and tales of other queer families and their origins, but to using it to really discount that experience. And in doing so, inviting our culture at large to portray these journeys of queer people becoming parents, or queer people in general, as repulsive, which is something that we have been fighting against since the beginning of time as queer people.
Yes, and for us personally, when our story did make the front page of the news, as he kind of puts, how embarrassing that would be for the kid. When that happened, we received so much love, but we received a lot of troll comments and hate. And it's one thing when it comes from an individual or a group of people that don't like gay people, or they, don't think we deserve the same rights. Like, that is a completely different conversation we're having here. It is more unsettling when someone that's within your community opens up that dialogue and that discourse, and suddenly it's okay to make jokes about. And so there was actually a talk show that followed his interview on the Stephen Colbert show, and then they brought up this idea of a mom being a surrogate, and they're literally ugh-ing, and they're like making these like ridiculous jokes. And that's exactly what it's about, is like, it seems like a harmless joke, but once you give permission for people from outside of the community to be grossed out by it and sickened by it, then it becomes a bigger problem at whole. And the other thing that I want to say that I think is frustrating is he does understand what it's like to overcome challenges, to have a child as a gay cis man. But what he doesn't understand, and what I think comes from a perspective of privilege, is that
some of us don't have the luxury of having money to have a surrogate, or some of us have fertility issues with trying to start a family. So I feel that no matter which way a couple wants to start their family, that is their privacy and their privilege.
these are things that come from a privilege of a certain socioeconomic status. And so to scoff and
to really make taboo the journey that people who are in that same position of privilege can really harm the way forward for the future for our community.
I think that the reason why we felt compelled to share our story is it really did provide a narrative that is not put out there, and that people can realize that there is a different way to create a family. There's a different way to reach your happy ending. And the more that we can put positivity around these unconventional families, the more that we can put less of a stigma on it, the more people can realize that there are different routes and there's different paths to parenthood. And the more that we do things like Anderson Cooper is doing, which is mocking, being sarcastic, making it the punchline, the less likely that they feel that they'll be accepted to do something like this.
And like I said, I just think it just took me back that someone is making fun of something like this that almost gives permission for other people to make fun of this or make mockery of it. And my intention when I did this, once again, was never to be a joke, never to offend anybody. It was straight from the heart, and love is from a mother, what she would do for any child if they needed to start a family and they were able to do it.
And yeah, it is just like a subtle thing. So we feel sometimes kind of silly, like making a big deal out of nothing. But I think
we realize that it really sparks a dialogue that we need to make sure that we are reiterating, especially within our community and using our platforms, that queer love is holy, our children's origin stories are holy and sacred, and that we will not succumb to being an object of ridicule to make others comfortable when their gaze is upon us, and that they are not invited to really have an opinion that is harmful when they don't have the same plight.
Yeah, and I think that it's especially important for people like Ellen DeGeneres, like Anderson Cooper, that are in the LGBTQ community, to use that platform and that power to uplift those of us in the community and not shit on us.
Yeah, so we're really curious to see what your perspective is on this, if you watched the interview and have heard our response to it.
I would really love anyone that is in any way interested, if you haven't, watch our video that we created, because it really shows the love that was put into it, and it clarifies those like tiny details where everyone's so disgusted by the woman's body, you know, that everyone's like so disgusted by the idea that I saw my mom's vagina. And one, I clarified that I didn't, and two,
it's a birthing portal at that point. We weren't standing there catching Uma as described in his story.
Yeah, he describes it as, we were catching the baby in like, what does he say, what position?
Like we were, yeah. And even if we were, we need to change the narrative around birth as something that is like grotesque, you know, and disturbing in any way. So
yeah. So it feels good just to kind of like get out there, because the thing is, our natural visceral response was anger, because anger is a form of protection, because otherwise I would feel shame. And the reason why we were so scared to tell people is for things like this. And so to see this new wave come, and from it to be pioneered by an individual that you would think would understand our situation and our plight, to how challenging it is to become parents.
Not trying to create like a boohoo response in a sense of like feeling sorry for ourselves or wanting to cancel anyone. This is simply making sure that we are holding people accountable for the damage that can be done in really subtle ways as we pave the way forward.
I would love for Anderson Cooper to watch the video that we created last week. Like, I want this so badly to get in his hands, because I don't think that he means harm. I think he's trying to uplift his mom and talk about how eccentric and lovely she was, but was also getting caught up with the shock factor and a way to try and entertain an audience.
And it really hurt and discounted your mom.
That's the thing that I feel protective of, is my mom looks up to him so much, and to hear her story be put up there by someone that she's idolized, and then to feel made fun of for something that, how many mothers can say that they did that for their sons?
Who is truly, like, I mean, clearly an ally, and to feel like someone in the community is putting a stain on what she did is...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the right to be, like, hurt by it.
Yeah. So
Fuck you, Alyssa Edwards. Yeah, I feel really good. I feel like that was really healing for me, because my tendency as a people pleaser is to be like, don't talk about it, don't make a ruckus, you don't want to be that boo-hoo kind of person.
Or we should focus on the positive.
Yes, yeah.
But no, this
It's something that's just important to talk about, and the more that we can create visibility for unconventional families, and that extends beyond LGBTQ families. I think it's all families that use unconventional ways to expand their family. We need more representation, and we need to stand up for ourselves when we feel like there is, a microaggression or a bullying moment or anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I had to say. I just kind of had to speak my mind a little bit, and I hope people take this to heart and know, until you know the whole story or you know someone's situation, please don't be judgmental or critical of their situation. Thanks, and have a good day. Bye.
So thank you for holding this space for us. We would love to hear what you have to say. Feel free to, link this in Anderson Cooper's DMs. Let him know that the people whose story he referenced have a response for him.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
See you in the next video.
Bye.
You barked up the wrong tree, Anderson. You can't make jokes about people who are serious. You will pay. Get your steaks ready. We're canceling someone today. Light the torches.
Oh, you have to stop. I can't talk.